Welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel, and in this video we're going to create an adventure. Now I've been doing a series, the Mega Dungeon series, which I will get back to, and also a series using the ideas from the Basic Expert book, BX. We have most of them done. There's one more left, I think. But I had an idea to make an adventure for an older system that we used to play a lot when we were kids, Boot Hill. So this game is a Wild West game. It's one of the earlier TSR games. And it's one of the games that we played a lot as kids. I think I've probably said this before, that we got into D&D first, but then we played all these different TSR games, Boot Hill, Gangbusters, Top Secret. And in a lot of ways, our group played those more. Love the old Westerns, loved to watch them with my mom. So anyways, our group also loves to play a bunch of different games, as I've talked about in other videos. So my friend has a problem that these wild hogs come onto their property. And we were just talking about it. And I said, that's a great idea for a Boot Hill game. And here we are. As a throwback to my youth, with the Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hog done lost his mind. This is going to be an adventure in Boot Hill. It's going to be a short one, probably 2 hours. So if you're not familiar with Boot Hill, it started off, the first edition is effectively a skirmish game. I never had that one. I think it was even like a little pamphlet like the original D&D. So you had these like skirmish rules where you get to fight out the, OK Corral and stuff like that. The second edition, which is what I had, was a box set. It came with a big map and like all these little like chits that you could move around, like little tokens, to play effectively like a war game. But we were playing D&D. We didn't really get that part of it. So we just played Boot Hill like a role-playing game. It's pretty sparse. Most of the rules are for gunfights and fist fights. There's a little bit in there for some other things like costs of like taking a bath and, gambling and stuff like that. But really, it's a pretty basic game. Very deadly, very fun, in my opinion. So we're going to write this adventure up. It's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to show you how I'll go through the process of it. So maybe that will be interesting to people that have mostly only run games for D&D or created games for D&D. How you might create one for another system. So let's jump over to Boot Hill. Okay, so we have Boot Hill here. It's, again, this is a PDF. I got this from DriveThruRPG. You can get second edition, which is this one. You can also get third edition, which adds like skills and stuff, which honestly, I'm not a big fan of, generally speaking. So I definitely don't want it in my Boot Hill. I find that things are easy enough to do. You're a gunslinger. You don't need skills for that. But if you like that kind of stuff, third edition is also available. They made a handful of adventures for this as well, and because it adds more to the game. Because remember, the game started off real simple. So, I mean, if we look at this, we can see that we've got the building of our characters here, and then we have guns, gunfights, and then we get into brawling, and then our advanced rules cover things like shooting moving targets. And then we have optional rules for first shot, and then talks about campaigns. I mean, look at how small this book is. And then we actually get into this book here, this part of the book where it's literally just fastest guns in the West type of thing, both fictional and non-fictional, and it has a few scenarios, again, like a war game. It's got some shootout at the OK Corral, that and that. But what we're going to use from this book actually is this. This is a typical layout. So I'm going to make this as a bit of an adventure where they're going to come into town and they're going to want to take revenge against Boss Hog, right? So I'm going to use this because why create what's already there? I'm also going to use, years ago, I found online the first edition. You might be able to find it. Again, it's not available legally. But in the first edition, instead of giving you this, what they give you is a sample town map. So I'm going to use this sample town map, except I'm going to, where it says Palace and Dance Hall right here, I'm going to basically use that as my location. And then I'm going to use the map for the other things. I'm going to have to manipulate a little bit, but that's going to save me a ton of time, right? Because here I have a map and there I have maps of the space. So I'm basically golden. All I really need is a plot and some bad guys. So let's jump to my iPad and let's do it. Okay, just as always, I usually make my adventures in the notebook function of my iPad, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So first of all, it's called Boss Hog Done Lost His Mind, because I feel like that's very country. I'm not from the South, so hopefully I'm not offending Southern people. Feels very Southern to say done lost his mind. I have no idea if that's a common phrase in the South, so you can tell me. I'm going to use Boot Hill second edition. I had thought about using first edition because, like I said, I do have a PDF. It's not legal, but the rest of the group doesn't, of course, because you can't buy it. So I'm going to use second edition. I'm going to make characters for everybody. I usually do that here. I'm not going to do that live. But unless you want to see a video with making Boot Hill characters, I could make one. But it's pretty simple. It's like 5 minutes to make a character, really quick. But what I am going to do is map out my idea. So the idea that I'm going to use here is that Boss Hog, right? He's a rich guy in town, obviously. He owns everything. He raises hogs, right? Thus the name Boss Hogs. And what he's going to do is he's been bringing his hogs when they bring them in to be slaughtered. They're bringing them across the PC's family's land. And every year that messes with their crops. So this year, one of the young cousins decides, no, he's going to have it out with Boss Hog. So him and we'll say 2 cousins go into town. And when this thing starts off, the party is going to be, the group is going to be at the ranch or the house when the one cousin comes back, either beat up really bad or more likely dead, draped over his horse. And but the other cousin's not coming back. So now we have a missing cousin. We know they went to go see Boss Hog. We know Boss Hog has some rough riders in town. So the party's going to have to go into town and figure out how they're going to deal with this and get their cousin back. That's effectively the adventure. So let's make some notes. Okay, we got Boss Hog has been running his herd of hogs across your land every year and ruining your crops. Young cousins Billy Bob and Bobby John have had enough, and with the bravery that only whiskey provides, the young lads went into town to confront him. Now those boys ain't got much sense. Boss Hog's men are nothing to trifle with, and it seems Billy Bob has learned the lesson the hard way. Just as the sun is setting, you hear his horse walking slowly down the lane. Billy is slung over the saddle, half beat to death, and Bobby is nowhere in sight. The half-beaten boy tells a tale of Hog's men and Bobby being strung up in the morning. Uncle Roy exclaims, "Boss Hog done lost his mind," as he reaches for his scattergun. So that's basically how we're going to start this thing. The rest of it's going to be up to the party. I will give them the map of the town because, of course, they know what the town looks like. They're going to have whatever the characters have, pistols, shotguns, whatever they want to go in there with. And now I just need some NPCs. So again, I'm just going to refer back to the book. It should be nice and simple. If I jump over to Boot Hill, we've got this fictional non-player character chart. I think some of these people are probably from movies and that kind of stuff. I don't know it well enough to know that. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a bunch of them and just use them. I think we want about a dozen bad guys. That's going to be good because Boot Hill's pretty deadly. And I'm probably going to have 4 or 5 player characters. They're going to be attacking by surprise. So I think a dozen kind of generic bad guys and then like a couple, like a lieutenant and then Boss Hog himself. Basically, that's all we're going to want. So I'm not going to spend the time to copy this here while you're all watching a video, but I'm going to just take like the first bunch of these guys and then I'll probably go up. I mean, Boss Hog himself is not going to be a gunslinger, but he's going to be a big fat dude and he's going to be, tough. So he's going to be like fisticuffs. Because again, nobody has to get shot. And they can just rescue the cousin and leave. But of course, if they do, then there'll be a shootout back at the ranch. This type of thing can't just go on, right? It's got to end sometimes. So if the party goes to town and rescues the cousin and gets him out without confronting or not wiping out at least most of Boss Hog's men, then Boss Hog will then ride with his men to the ranch and fight them there. So I might try to do a map for a ranch, but I figured the ranch house is just going to be something simple. Real simple, just kind of a big space with some windows and stuff. So we're not going to play it skirmish style. I'm going to do it all theater of the mind. So it's not really a big deal. I just like having the map so that it's easy to kind of navigate when they're like, especially if they do a break-in, which is probably what they're going to do. In any case, that's it. Sometimes adventures don't need to be super complicated. I'm effectively setting up a story, giving 2 locations and some NPCs. And then what I'm going to do is let the player characters decide everything else. We'll run the rest of this on the fly. I'll probably record this and put it on my other channel, Bandits Keep Actual Play. So if you want to see how this plays out, let me know. If you want to see me design adventures for other game systems besides D&D, you like this or whatever, let me know because I can also do that. I play all kinds of games and I'd love to share that with you guys. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.